Has the idea of opening multiple bank accounts ever crossed your mind? Well, if it hasn't, you're probably in good company because most people don't know the benefits of a segregated bank account. But what can make a huge difference in your life is exactly that. Segregating different verticals of money. Segregating your finances. So let's dive into this segregated account thing and talk about how can this actually benefit you? How can this streamline either your personal or business life or both? And most importantly, why should you actually do this? So the first thing I want to hit is a segregated bank account allows you to compartmentalize different buckets of money. Let me give you an example. Let's just say you try to save up money for a vacation. Most people that save for vacations, and a lot of you I'm sure do, you put extra money just in a regular bank account. Some of you, the very few, would maybe open up a different bank account, open a brokerage account, or do something different to keep that money in a separate place. So that's the way I want you to start thinking about that. But now let's go away from vacations. You've all heard of Christmas clubs. Yes, that's a segregated account. I'm just trying to connect the dots between what you're doing today and what a segregated account is. Now let's get to the real fun stuff. The second thing you need to understand is it is harder for you to commingle and self-sabotage your goals if you keep it all in one account. Now, I want you to be honest with yourself and with me. How many of you keep all of your income in one bank account because that's just how you've done it forever? Okay? That's the first thing. Now, how many of you feel like that bank account is a black hole? Everything that goes in there, poof, it's gone at the end of the month and you're just like, where did all the money go? Exactly. You see, if you just put all your money in one account, you are self-sabotaging your goals. That's the second part. The third part is a segregated bank account will allow you to track and prioritize your savings plan for a specific goal. Remember, we talked about the Christmas club, then we talked about saving for a vacation house. But let's dive one layer deeper. When you are saving up for, it doesn't matter what it is, a new car, how are you doing that? Are you just hoping and praying that the money's going to be there? Or are you one of those people that just goes out and finances the new car and adds more debt on top of more debt and on top of more debt? That will be what your downfall will be. The biggest reason people fail when the markets turn and when recessionary periods hit is debts, 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 and debts. Do you get it? Yes, that's the reason why you will fail like so many others have when things turn south. Now, wouldn't it be really awesome when the market turned, which by the way, it is right now. Oh, by the way, we are in a recession right now. So we're talking about segregated bank accounts. So how about this plan? If we know that things are going to start deflating eventually, once the Fed does a good job of destroying the stock market, destroying the economy, the price of things are going to start coming down. You're already seeing stocks come down. So you're going to see all your stocks and all those different things come down. Then you're going to see real estate start coming down. Oh, and then car prices are going to come down. Oh yeah, and then boats and all those things are going to start deflating. It's a normal economic cycle. But what if this? When everything is going down, 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 and things are getting cheaper, 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 wouldn't it be awesome if you just had a segregated account that you decided every month to put a little extra money in, and now all of a sudden you've got a couple $1,000, maybe even tens of thousands, heck, maybe you even have hundreds of thousands of dollars sitting there waiting for the opportunity of your life? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Now here's what will go wrong with a segregated bank account. What will go wrong with a segregated account if you don't follow those three things I just said is a lot of people will dip into it. It's like the cookie jar, right? You might have a bunch of cookies, but everybody wants to go into the cookie jar. You need to make this segregated account harder to get to, which means try not to do any checkbooks. Definitely no debit cards. Debit cards are awful. I teach my daughter these things. My daughter's 2, by the way, folks. 2. It's never too early to start. I teach my daughter how to pay herself first. Why? Because that's what my mom taught me. My mom taught me one of the most important things when it comes to money. Pay myself first. But she never taught me to pay myself first and keep it in a separate account that's sort of off in left field. My mom used to use a glass jar to save her spare change. I teach my daughter how to save money, and I don't like the word saving. I like keeping, because most people aren't taught to save money. You know what you're taught to do? You're taught to pay your bills. You're taught to pay your creditors. You're taught to pay your debts. You're not taught to pay yourself first until now. It all has to change. And where you're going to pay yourself first is a newly created segregated account. Why do I call segregated? Because it's separate from your normal bank account that you pay for the diapers and the groceries and all your bills. It's separate. And how many segregated accounts can you have? As many as you want. Matter of fact, I'd suggest you try to prioritize and create segregated accounts for each vertical in your life. You got a vacation fund. You got an opportunity fund. Oh, you got a property tax or a tax fund. We could go on for days about this. I teach my daughter this, and I'm teaching you the same thing. Because you know what? The best thing when it comes to a segregated account is watching that money grow over time. Although it might only be a little bit that you can put in. My mom just saved her spare change. So maybe that's where you start. Save your spare change, but put it into an account that you're not looking at, that you're not planning on dipping into because, oh, I need that new outfit. Oh, the new iPhone came out. I got to buy that. Oh, I need a new car right now. I'm just going to go into that segregated account that I've been saving for. Stop. Stop seeking instant gratification and start understanding that it's okay to delay gratification. It feels great to have nice things, folks. And at some point in your life, you will have nice things. But it will and cannot come at the sacrifice of paying yourself less than you deserve. You need to know your worth, folks. Don't let other people decide your worth for you. This is on you. I tell my daughter the same thing I'm telling you. You see, again, I'm going to come back to it. Following these simple steps that I just outlined, segregating buckets of money in places where you're not going to dip into them, understanding that they are for delayed gratification, for things that you don't maybe even know what they are today. You don't know what the opportunity is going to be next year. Heck, you might be able to buy a house on your street 50% off next year. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but what if it did? Well, if you don't have the money to buy that house 50% off, well, opportunity lost. The segregated account for opportunities could be used for that. Hey, maybe your favorite stock goes 80% off. Hey, just imagine that, and I doubt this would happen, but let's just pretend. Imagine Apple next year was trading 50% down. Would you want to buy that? Next question. Would you be able to buy that? Would you have excess money sitting there waiting for that opportunity? See, this is what I'm talking about. This is how a segregated account will benefit you. This is how it will change your life, your financial future, your kids' financial future. You got to stop thinking that the world is all about you. You got to start applying these simple strategies because the world isn't about you. I think Zig Ziglar said it best. If you help enough people get what they want, you'll get what you want. But you can't get what you want if you don't put others first. Now, what does that have to do with a segregated account? Everything, because one segregated account that should be mandatory for every one of you is the giving account. You need to give. And when you give, don't ever plan on this, but when you give, you get. So if you don't have that money to give and you're like, oh, I'll give when I get more money. No, you won't. You're lying to yourself. Give now when you have nothing so that when you do have money, then you can just give more and it will feel natural. Use a segregated account for giving. Do you see what we're doing here? We're just layering on one account after another. And then you're thinking, well, how do I keep track of all this? Well, let me think. There's this thing called Google Docs. There's all sorts of ways. All you need to do is just track them all. But make sure you spread this money out. Don't use the same bank you go to every single day. Go to different banks. Open a bank account at a credit union, at a community bank. Open one of those bank accounts you always hear me talking about. Your own bank. BYOB. Be your own bank. Especially designed and engineered whole life. Yeah, that might not be a bad place, but I'm getting ahead of myself. All you need to do is start. So folks, let's just go back and recap what we talked about. You need to change the way you're doing things. Stop relying on that black hole called your regular bank account. And let's compartmentalize buckets of money. And this is going to happen by first understanding what those buckets are. So step number one, allow yourself to compartmentalize different buckets of money. You've got your giving bucket. You've got your Christmas bucket. You got your vacation bucket. You got your opportunity bucket. You got your tax bucket. Write these down right now. I'll wait. Okay, you done? All right, let's move on to the second thing. It is so difficult if all you do is commingle and self-sabotage your goals, and that's what you're doing now. So the first thing we got to do is change your habits. Okay, so number 2, your habits that you're used to today by commingling and self-sabotaging your goals with excuses goes away right here, right now. Number 3, by doing segregated accounts for each one of these, it will allow you to track and prioritize your savings plan for each and every goal you have. The first one, we figured out what the goals are. The second one, we identified that we're not going to commingle our funds anymore. And the third thing is we are going to prioritize and track every dollar into these specific segregated accounts. If I teach my daughter this, you can learn this. And if you learn this, you can teach your kids this so that your kids then teach their kids this. You see, knowledge is passed down from generation to generation, and it often loses valuable information in that transfer. That's got to stop here, because as we get older and as we have children or more children or wherever you're at, we have to understand that we can't keep passing down the same ideas that we were taught, because if we do, they may not be true. They might not even be the right information. Set the course now. Segregate your funds and do it just as I explained. If you liked this, make sure you follow this, like this, and subscribe to this channel. And why not click that little alerts button so that you hear all the rest of them so that they're there when you need them. If you like this video, you'll love this video right here where I explain to you how HELOCs, home equity lines of credit, can be used. Not only how they can be used, when to use them. Folks, thank you for joining me. We'll see you next time.